I know you love when Mark Latham's on the show. I do too, and his Instagram account does as well. Good to see a little pop up there as we endorse Mark Latham as the best chance New South Wales has at the upcoming election, him and One Nation. Of course, great man, how are you?
Yeah, good, Paul. Always good to be in the man cave.
Now, lots to get to, including today, yet again, you've blown the whistle on the stupidity inside schools. This one is a religious school, and this one, you've got the receipts, as they say, which is how they are pushing the pro-voice attitudes under the mask of education.
Yeah, it's William Clark Anglican College at Kellyville in northwest Sydney, where the poor parents are paying some pretty hefty fees for political indoctrination in Year 9 English, where the students are being effectively told they should vote for the voice, not that they've got to vote, so that in itself is futile. But the material that's been presented in the class is a new low in political indoctrination. You'd have to say it's wacky, because what they're doing is comparing the European settlement of Australia to the alien invasion of Earth. And the work starts out, imagine the Earth is invaded by a race of aliens, their technology is more complex than ours, and we have no hope of defeating them. They say that hundreds of years pass and some of us are taken as slaves. So they're comparing Australian history to slavery. So that's false, it's fake history, we've never had that. And they say not all the aliens are bad, some of them regret the actions of their ancestors. And it's almost like you're expecting to read that nice alien Albanese, AAA, alien Anthony Albanese is not too bad, and he wants to free the humans through a thing called the voice. So it is laughable, but also sad, and sadder still that the school somehow is defending this as part of the English syllabus, that somehow the students learn how to write and create argument. Well, I can tell you one thing on how you learn to write, and my Year 11 English teacher passed on to me. Read Dickens. Read the value of short expressive sentences. Read Orwell. Read Shakespeare. Read the classics of our civilisation. So it's a new low where we wonder why kids have got a bit of anxiety. It's telling them to think about the alien invasion of Earth, and only the nice alien, Albanese, will set people free.
Yeah.
So, this teacher should be sacked. This has got nothing to do with the English syllabus. NESA, which is supposed to enforce adherence to the curriculum, should get involved. And again, I say to this teacher, if you are so political and so politically frustrated, well, run for the election on the 25th of March, see how you go, but don't take your political frustrations out on these poor students with the absurd notion of comparing the settlement of Australia to an alien invasion and slavery. This is just beyond the pale.
So the school responded after you outed this today, that the school does not hold or promote a particular view on the proposed referendum. It's unfortunate that the parent who complained did not raise this concern with the school. He would have discovered that this lesson is part of the English syllabus, not the social studies or any other subject, blah, 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 blah. This is not a defence.
No.
This is not a defence.
No. It's political indoctrination, and the embedded link in the material is for an interview of Marsha Langton, where she says, unless the voice is supported, it proves we're all racist. And she gets stuck into Peter Dutton, Mundine and Jacinta Price. So you couldn't get anything more political, and the school effectively is taking the parents to be mugs. The poor students are made to think the only way of getting rid of alien oppression and slavery is to support the voice. The only way to show we're not racist is to support the voice, and the dreaded Dutton, Mundine and Price are bad people. So this is as political a piece of propaganda as you'll ever get inside a school. And for the school to be in denial adds to the wound and the insult to the students and the parent community.
But also, it's this thing where clearly people believe that if we can get the kids, not just the future votes, but the pester power when this issue is being discussed at home. So say tonight, right now, mum and dad are watching this show, having this conversation. Well, somebody who's gone through the Year 9 English indoctrination turns around and says, oh, mum and dad, turn that crap off because, right? That's the game. And that's how the left works, is that we know that they're all over the institutions, but what is amazing is that if there's a system supposedly to pull this all in, it's failing. And we're right now in the middle of a state election campaign, and we talk about this every week, where today ABS tells us there are 4 million kids in schools in Australia, right? 4 million. A huge number of those, of course, in New South Wales. What's the conversation about this? in the election campaign. Oh no, it's about poker machines, which we all know is a class warfare thing run by the Herald. It's the Chris Minns, the bloke who apparently is in front of the polls having Valentine's Day date with his missus, and Dominic Perrottet, finally being revealed by the Treasurer, they're going to do nothing about Warragamba Dam for 4 years.
Well, Perrottet won't get stuck into this school, nor will the ineffective Education Minister Sarah Mitchell. And the reality is that the school should be very firmly told by NESA, who's supposed to enforce the standards in the non-government sector, stick to literacy, teaching these kids how to read, how to write, how to do comprehension. Paul, every year in New South Wales, the start of this school year, we've got 17,000 students who start Year 7 semi-illiterate. Now, it's clear that the overall system's not going well enough, and I'd say this school's not going so well that they've got the indulgence and the waste of time of teaching the alien invasion, slavery and support for the voice through political indoctrination. Stick to the basics. That should be the message to all these schools. Stick to the basics.
And when we're talking about back to basics, we mentioned this on telly last night, which was the City of Sydney councillor who wanted to be the mayor but ended up having to settle to be a councillor, goes on an interview on 2GB with Chris O'Keefe, and it's about the garbage because they're not picking up the garbage in the middle of the central Sydney, but she decides to turn around and say, oh, hang on, before I get to that issue, happy Valentine's Day, and it's a special day for my people because it's the anniversary of Captain Cook's death. Talk about just...
Well, she said it was a great day, didn't she?
Correct.
We're celebrating Cook's death. Cook was an explorer of magnificence of the First Order, a great man who added a lot to the knowledge of our planet, and his voyage on the Endeavour was a voyage of scientific discovery. That's what it was, not a voyage of slavery or oppression or any of this rewriting of history. And Joseph Banks, to this day, the things that he took back to Britain still sit in their museum. So Banks was a great man, Cook was a great man, and I dare say they've achieved a lot more in their lifetimes than the councillor that we're talking about in Sydney, who seems to think everything's political, and you can never acknowledge the great explorers of our civilisation.
But also the giggle in her voice, she got exactly what she wanted, right? Which was national conversation, Sydney-wide radio conversation about her for multiple days. But the reality is the people who pay the rates, who vote for her, the garbage isn't being picked up. And this is a wider issue.
Well, yeah, that's right. She was, Chris O'Keefe there was asking her about the garbage collection, which is hopeless, and things are rotting on the street. And she segued into the death of Captain Cook. So good on Chris O'Keefe for kicking her off and saying, look, if you can't talk about the basics of your job, which is pick the garbage up, then don't go dancing on the grave of a great man like James Cook.